Falloff is a 3D procedural map that is in a class of its own. It's essential for creating an advanced material. It allows you to make just about anything fall off according to the curvature of a surface or the lighting in the scene. You can map falloff into just about any component, and I'll be using falloff in the future when I talk about transmitting light and mapping reflection and refraction. But for now, I'd like to keep it simple and use the falloff map in the diffuse color component. First off, notice that there is no coordinates rollout here. You can't make the falloff map tile or change its angle like you might with some of the other procedural maps. Instead, you can control the type of falloff here and the falloff direction here. All of the falloff types work with two items or two slots, and the slots are identified up here. In this case, we're dealing with perpendicular parallel type, and so we're dealing with the front of the surface and the side of the surface. I'd like to demo the first type, however, before we get into this. So I'll change this drop down to towards away. When I do that, notice that the terminology up here has changed. This is the towards slot, and this is the away slot. The teapot looks black because all of its surfaces are facing towards the viewing direction. There are white surfaces on that teapot, but they're facing away from us. And that's because of the fall-off direction right here. You set the viewing direction in this drop-down, and currently it's set to the camera's z-axis. The camera defines a coordinate system, and the z-axis of the camera is coming out at you out of the viewport. The camera's y-axis is up and down, and its x-axis is horizontal. So if I change the viewing direction here to the camera's x-axis, you'll see a significant change here. Now we're making the diffuse color fall off in this direction from black to white. And it fades in this nice gradient. Notice that this is true on each part of the teapot. It's fading from black to white in that direction. The fade between these two slots is controlled down here by the mix curve. So this is the towards slot and this is the away slot in this particular case. Now to make this direction obvious, what I'm going to do is emphasize the transition. So I'm going to add a couple of points to the mix curve here near the middle. And then I'm going to move those points apart so that we have an abrupt transition between those two slots. So now we're really able to see the line of transition between the towards direction and the away direction. And I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Now you can change the fall-off direction to the camera's y-axis, and you'd expect the transition line to be more horizontal as the y-axis goes up and down here. You can also choose from the local axes or the world axes. For example, here's the world x-axis, and it's pretty much vertical here. The local x-axis will be rotated because the teapot is rotated with respect to the grid, as you can see here. Aside from local, world, and camera axes, you can also orient the fall-off direction according to an object. And this is the most flexible and customizable option. Down here is where you need to select the object that you're going to be using to determine this fall-off direction. So I need to create one. Let me close the material editor. And I recommend that you create a dummy helper to do this because it will not render. I'll create a dummy object over here, which is really just a spatial placeholder. And then I'll go back into the material editor and click on the None button here to identify the dummy. And then I'll click on it right there. So now dummy 1 is determining our fall-off direction here. And if I move that object, you'll see that the fall-off direction will change according to its position. Here I'll move it up, and you'll see that fall-off direction change.